Once we got off our ship, we jumped on the bus for our quick tour of Skagway, followed by a trip over to the Gold Rush Cemetery.
So when the miners came in, they actually cut down every single tree that you can see right here. And these hills were just literally bald from all the trees that were cut down. And so we're really happy that they're all back for everybody to be able to look at and enjoy. Now up on the right hand side, y'all might be able to see it right here. We'll be able to have other chances to see it as we go down this street here, but there's actually the first advertisement that was ever placed in Skagway. It's a little painting up on the side of the mountain there, and it's a stopwatch. It's a little pocket watch for a place called Kermsey's Curios. And that store is actually still here in town today. Now coming up on the left-hand side, just after we go through this intersection here, is the Red Onion Saloon. The Red Onion Saloon opened back in 1898, and when it first opened it was both a bar and a brothel. It still does retain one of those titles today. Which one? It's a brothel? No, I'm just kidding. It's a bar. But they do make very good pizza. On the left we have the Miners Gems, and on the right we have the Bonanza Bar and Grill. I point those buildings out specifically, as well as a couple other ones, because the fronts of the buildings are actually taller than the backs of the buildings. And so what that is something called a false front, or a facade. So when the miners did cut down all the trees here, they didn't use much of the lumber to build storefronts, or stores in general. And so what they would do is simply build up a wall of wood and make it very nice and pretty and beautiful, and then they'd put a big old tent behind it. And that's where the store would be at, was just in the tent. And eventually over time they did build up around those tents, but some of these storefronts are actually 100 to 130 years old. And they've been kept in great condition, as most of what y'all just saw was very accurate to what it looked like in the original Gold Rush times. Now on the left hand side we are entering Skagway's financial district. And now we're exiting Skagway's financial district. We just have that one bank here in town, the Wells Fargo. At any given point though, we've had a total of 3 banks here in Skagway. And that was back in 1907 and the surrounding times right there, when Skagway hit its peak population.
Once at the cemetery, look for the sign for the waterfall. It's well worth a 5-minute hike to see this view.
You don't want to go to the waterfall. Yeah, we'll go to the waterfall. I'm going to the waterfall. You forgot some books then. Oh, he's not going now? What? Marry me.
Need your passports. Our train will be taking a loop in the track at the summit before heading back down, so don't worry, you will get to see both sides of the beautiful scenery around us. I do have some safety announcements that I need to go over with you, so please listen very carefully. As you saw when boarding, there are platforms at the front and back of each train car. Within Skagway city limits, these platforms must be clear. So I'll make an announcement when I've heard from our conductor that we have cleared city limits so that you can go outside. While outside, please make sure you understand that you are not allowed at any time to cross from car to car, and please stay off the thin metal bridge connecting the cars together. Our number one rule is there is absolutely no crossing from car to car. The only people that are allowed to cross from car to car is our trained train staff. There is no smoking at any time in or outside of the train cars, and this includes electronic cigarettes. If we do catch you smoking, we will assume that you are on fire and take the necessary measures to put you out. There is also no consumption of alcohol allowed at any time during our trip today. Please make sure not to rest your hands and fingers in the doorways to the platforms, as the doors can slam shut due to the rocking of the train. All our passengers that are 16 years and under need to be accompanied by a responsible adult when outside on the platforms. Finally, please do not adjust the stoves that are in your cars. If you need assistance with the temperature in your coach, please let one of our train staff know. Thank you all very much for your compliance and understanding, and now sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. All the work on our vintage fleet and keep everything running in tip-top shape. They maintain over 80 passenger cars, over 10 diesel electric engines, and 2 steam locomotives. They work tirelessly to ensure that you get to experience the railroad to its fullest. Had taken a hold, and everyone wanted a chance to try their luck in the new frontier. All through the summer and on into the winter of 1897 and early 98, stampeders poured into the newly created tent and shack towns of Skagway and Dyea. Skagway, the head of the Lighthouse Trail, was founded by Captain William Moore. I'll tell you more about the White Pass Trail in a little while, but for now, I'll leave you with the beautiful views of the Tongass National Forest and the Skagway River. The weather up at the summit is not suitable for year-round living, so the U.S. moved our customs building 12 miles south and Canada moved theirs 7 miles north. So there's about 20 miles of no man's land in between. But they both close at midnight, so if you are between these customs buildings, maybe it wasn't in their best interest to reveal the knowledge of another nearby mountain pass. The founder of Skagway, Captain William Moore, was able to persuade Skookum Jim, a Chilkoot native, to guide him through this other nearby pass. On June 6, 1887, Captain Moore and Skookum Jim began their hike. They found little more than a footpath and spent a grueling 3 days hacking out a trail through thick vegetation and climbing over. Before heading up there, we'll be making a large horseshoe curve through the Warm Valley. And folks, if you are afraid to hike, don't worry. Anarchy. Skagway was a rough place, but rougher still was White Path City. This city existed in just as quickly as it had been established. White Path City ceased to exist once the railroad was completed. We are now coming up to mile marker 16, Tunnel Mountain. We will be passing over the famous wooden trestle bridge that was built back in the 1890s and has been rebuilt and maintained ever since. This is a good time to go out onto the platform or look outwards to the left to see the whole train in motion going over the bridge. Immediately after the bridge, we'll be going through Tunnel Mountain, which is about 250 feet long and very, very, very dark. So prepare yourself for complete darkness. The crow flies. Cy Warman, a reporter from McClure's magazine, wrote in 1900 that this one view alone is worth the price of a trip to Alaska. And folks, I could not agree more. So again, looking behind your left-hand shoulder is Inspiration Point. 30 to 40 times in order to get a year's supply of goods up to the White Path summit before the Canadian Mounties would even let them into Canada. up to the summit and then going. Sheer drop on our right. Imagine trying to work up here. The workers had to hike up here from their camps down on the valley floor. Once they got up here, they found scarcely enough footing for an eagle, but had to find a way to blast through the rock. To do so, the men worked in teams of 3, doing something called double jacking. These men would be hanging from the ropes on these near vertical cliffs. One man would be holding a sharpened steel rod between his legs, while the other two took turns hitting the steel rod into the rock. They would then fill the newly created hole with blasting powder, attach a fuse, light it, and swing away just in time as the rock heaved down below. Coming up is Glacier Station. Here's another chance for you to snap a shot of the entire train curving around the tracks. This is a very popular hiking destination. After we cross over the bridge, to the left-hand side, you'll see a trail heading up towards the Lower Glacier. If you ride one of our trains up to this stop, you can get off and follow a beautifully maintained trail to the glacier, and then catch another train down that will return you to Skagway. That is exactly what we did earlier this morning. Folks, once again, looking up to our right this time, we can see the Highline section of the track from which we just came down and the famous wooden trestle bridge.
After arriving back at the depot, we played tourist for a little bit and hit all the little local shops. There's really some cool things in there if you want to walk around and get some cool souvenirs. After that, we wandered over to the Skagway Brewing Company and had a really nice lunch.